All right. Well, welcome to the second meeting, Graylynn Drive. This is under the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, and today is October 29th, 2024. Um, we're meeting virtually only at 6:30 p.m. My name is David Greaves. I am a consultant for NDOT, so I'm the one facilitating this meeting and have done the design as well. Um, so in case anyone viewing has not been to the first meeting, we're going to just kind of quickly recap some of the material we covered there, but not quite as extensively. And we'll start that off with what is traffic calming. So the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program is one that focuses on residential streets. We favor physical solutions to encourage lower speeds over significant lengths. And all this is generally in pursuit of speed reduction. There are three E's of traffic calming. Those are education, enforcement, and engineering. Education is something that we do some of. Certainly, NDOT likes to make everyone aware the importance of driving at safe speeds and driving safely in general. Enforcement is more under Metro Nashville Police Department. They're actually able to issue tickets for crimes such as speeding, whereas NDOT is not able to do that. So we have engineering bold and underlined here because that's really the arm of traffic calming that the Nashville Department of Transportation has the ability to affect. So most of our designs revolve pretty heavily around an engineered solution that we can put in once and expect it to work for as long as it is installed, rather than kind of those more one at a time approaches. I mentioned that speed reduction is kind of the primary goal of this program, and the main reason for that is the way it fits into Vision Zero, which is a goal that represents nobody on Nashville's public streets being killed or seriously injured by vehicles or otherwise. So speed fits into that because a pedestrian who is struck by a car has a much higher chance of surviving that if those cars are going at or near the speed limit, around 25 miles an hour. That, of course, goes way down as those speeds increase. So when we see roads that have a lot of speeding, we know there is a danger to help address. This is a really popular program. So in March of 2024, when Graylynn Drive was selected, there were around 480 streets in the queue. Those can all be seen on NDOT's live traffic calming tracker. So that's what that map is there. Off to the right, each of those lines is either a project we've done or a project that has applied. And those are those kind of purple lines. So in the spring of 2024, we prioritized all of the streets that we had not yet selected and chose the top 25 scoring streets. We can talk a little bit about what that means as necessary, but point being, Graylynn was observed to have a need for a traffic calming design based on speeds, volumes, crash history, etc. So the traffic calming program is fairly limited in the tools we have at our disposal. In meeting one, we reviewed kind of the whole list of things that were part of the program. Tonight we'll mainly be focusing on the design that we have done. But if there is anything outside of the program that we want to talk about, we want to make sure that everyone's aware that Hub Nashville is a resource to request any number of things from Metro Nashville. So it doesn't have to just be NDOT. I certainly use it mostly for NDOT related things. But this is a good place to request things like sidewalks and stop signs, potholes, really all sorts of things. I'm noticing that we've had a few more people join the call. So just want to let everyone know that we've kind of covered the recap of meeting one, some general information about the program. But if you have any questions or think you may have missed something, feel free to let me know, and we'll pause a few times throughout the presentation for questions and feedback. So this is the project limits of Graylynn. It's the whole street running from Blue Hole Drive all the way up to Lebanon Pike. And you can see there are a handful of neighborhood streets in your vicinity that have either applied, as is the case for those purple lines, been selected, or in the case of the blue dotted lines, actually been implemented with vertical measures. So a whole handful of your neighbors are also engaging in this program, and we'll hope to get to them as well. So before we dig into the specifics about Graylynn Drive, do we have any questions from folks online about what we've covered so far, or if you think you may have missed something? All right, I've got a shaking head and some silence, so we'll go ahead and just move on to what we're proposing for Graylynn. Similar to the concept we presented last time, we are continuing to lean on speed cushions. I know that we spent a good amount of time kind of entertaining some different ideas and options, but I think we covered pretty well sort of the constraints that Graylynn has working against it in the larger suite of different approaches given the width and things like that. So speed cushions are modular rubber devices intended to slow down vehicles by causing vertical deflection as you drive across. So basically, they work like speed bumps, but they're stretched way out to have a much higher target speed. Really, they're intended to be traversed at around 25 miles an hour, which I believe is the speed limit on Graylynn Drive. So we're not asking folks to come down to that 5-10 miles an hour that you would for a speed bump, more just drive the speed limit safely and not significantly higher than that. These are the results of NDOT's study that they conducted on a few projects that they have installed. Before and after before on the left, where the average speed was 31 miles an hour and the 85th was 37. On the right, we can see that after the installation of speed cushions, the average speed came down to 22 and the 85th percent speed came down to 25. So basically what this is reporting is that these cushions perform as advertised and as they do around the country. And so we were glad to see consistent results with other studies that have performed in other areas. These are the plans, so we can go through page by page, but essentially what we're proposing are 10 sets of speed cushions. That's the same number that we proposed in our concept. There was some concern that this was a lot, but we sort of discussed that there are fairly narrowly defined spacings for these that hit the mark between far enough apart that we aren't over calming and kind of wasting the potential for cushions going elsewhere, but they're not so far apart that people who want to speed or are in a hurry have the opportunity to get back up to dangerous speeds after slowing down. So we've done a lot of traffic calming projects around Nashville, and when we've spaced them out further than kind of our current recommended guidelines, we found that effect does happen. And for that reason, we don't really prefer to have spacings larger than 500 feet or so if we can avoid it. So we're going to start from left to right. Sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4 are the enlargements there. And yeah, basically we've got a few in front of the elementary school. That, of course, is a place where it's very important to keep vehicular speeds safe. Thankfully, it looks like there is a sidewalk, which is encouraging and is a place for students and residents alike to walk. And then, like I mentioned, we kind of just maintain roughly that same spacing throughout the rest of the street as we go north toward Lebanon Pike. see a crosswalk connecting one side of the street to a parking lot there. So we made sure to put cushions an appropriate distance from that and make sure that vehicles were, made aware that that crossing is there in case they were driving quickly. And then on this last page, we see kind of a bird's eye view of what a given configuration would look like. So Graylynn is actually not the same width all the way through. Up towards Lebanon Pike, it starts to widen out a little bit. But for the most part, it is a pretty narrow street, so we're not able to do things like chicanes where you zigzag back and forth. And then you all have existing edge lines, which is one other tool that we sometimes use to kind of visually narrow the street, but that base has already more or less been covered. So yeah, that's kind of the design we're looking at. Next, we're going to cover sort of the next steps of the program and sort of how the balloting will work. But before we dive into the kind of process and remainder of the project, I wanted to pause and just take any questions that you all may have, or really look into any details that you all want to see. Cool. Well, if we need to circle back to the plans, we certainly can, but I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time this evening. So we can take a look at sort of the next steps we can expect in the program. For anyone who hasn't seen this flow chart before, we start at the application, of course, when residents or a neighborhood association requests traffic calming from NDOT. We've done our prioritization and selection process in our first neighborhood meeting. In the last couple of months, we've spent finalizing the design, doing our site visit, and now we are in this red circle to the bottom left at our second neighborhood meeting to sort of present the design that we've come up with. Next thing on the to-do list is the online ballot. So what we will do is send a ballot postcard to the same group of people that received invitations to this meeting. That is every owner of parcels that abut Graylynn Drive. Should the ballot be successful, which means 66% of those who vote yes, we will then move into construction, order materials, get the work orders in place, and that construction queue is roughly 8 to 10 months around now. They're pretty quick to build. It's just the amount that we're building is so high at the moment that the line is pretty long. So there will be no action for a little while, and then the project will be built should the ballot be successful. A little more about balloting. So on the top left, this is what that postcard will look like. We have a unique ID code pasted on to each of these just to make sure that each vote is coming in correctly. We don't have any mistakes with like duplicates or anything like that. And that ballot period is open for 6 weeks, and we have it limited because we don't want votes to be coming in like a year from now and having it never get built. But we do like to leave plenty of time for people to talk to their neighbors about the project if they may not have heard of it. And also, maybe you're on vacation or something when it comes in. We don't want to miss anyone, so we leave it open for a good period, a month and a half or so. The only responses you can choose are yes or no. And like I mentioned before, that threshold for passing is 66%. So if 2/3 of the people who vote yes, then the project will move forward. A little bit about the ballot zone. Essentially, we look for residential properties, schools, and churches. Owners of multiple properties will only get 1 vote, so we sort of sort out the duplicates of any list. And then it is only the properties that are actually abutting the right of way. But if you are on like a cross street and your address is on the cross street, if your side yard, for instance, touches Graylynn Drive, then you'll still be included in that list. Vacant properties, so ones without buildings on them, essentially, we do not count. And same with like active businesses. I don't recall if on Lebanon and Pike those are houses or some sort of commercial property, but if it's not a residence, then we will not send a ballot to them. Any questions about the balloting, logistics, details, anything that we've just covered?
No questions.
All right, well, moving right along. That is all I've got. We welcome any and all feedback. So my email address is here, as is NDOT Traffic Calming's team. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. I will request that you keep the NDOT Traffic Calming address in the loop there, just in case I'm out or miss it or something like that. It's better to have belt and suspenders there. But yeah, if no one has anything, please feel free to check out the Traffic Calming website at the URL and QR code displayed. NDOT also has a handful of social media presence that they can be followed at to get some updates on not too many things, but they like to post from time to time and keep the community privy to what they're doing. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up? Appreciate y'all jumping on this evening and hearing what we have to present.
Just thank you. And when did you say the ballots are going to go out? This is Jeff Gregg.
Oh, hi, Councilmember Gregg. Sorry I didn't see you come on. So ballots should be expected within a week or two.
I'm sorry to do this.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and prepare that list, prepare the ballots, send them to NDOT. It does take a few days to like get all those mailers together, but yeah, sometime in the next week or so, I think we can expect to have ballots hit in the mailboxes. I see Fern has raised a hand. Feel free to come off mute and ask anything.
Sorry, that was an accident, actually.
Oh, no worries. Anything else?
This is if we've got a moment. Stay here. My name's Marin. Is it all right if I go ahead, or was I supposed to raise my hand first? I'm not sure.
No.
Trying to be respectful.
Please.
Okay. So all right. Well, I appreciate you hear me out. So I wanted to just some written down. So first, I'd like to once again appreciate you let me speak. I'm Marin Herford, and I'd like to urge to implement a reasonable cap on luxury transportation services, like things like limousines and Uber Black vehicles, stuff like that. Based on the current traffic patterns and rider and actual rider demand on Graylynn Drive, we've seen a lot of oversaturation that doesn't really line up with the real market needs. I think a cap would significantly improve traffic flow on Graylynn Drive. I've seen a lot of increasing congestion from luxury vehicles on the street, using it as like a cut-through route. And from there, on all that. So seems like our growing population needs smart, data-driven vehicle allocation, not just more vehicles. And these adjustments to like rideshare related regulations would actually improve traffic flow on Graylynn Drive significantly, as it would reduce unnecessary commercial traffic through the residential area. And secondly, I'd like to request an update on the promised survey regarding scooter accidents occurring after 9 p.m. This is particularly relevant to Graylynn Drive. Seen a lot of increased scooter traffic in the evening hours, and I'd just like to have access to that. And then lastly, just like to express appreciation for NDOT's recent shift in approach regarding the rideshare drivers, because the reduction in unnecessary ticketing and harassment of Uber and Lyft drivers have been noticed and very much appreciated by myself and others in the driver community. And this is a more balanced approach, has actually helped improve traffic flow. And, because drivers have no longer needed to make sudden stops or detours to avoid overzealous enforcement. And we trust this is a much more reasonable approach. And again, thank you for your time, consideration of these matters.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, appreciate
Thanks.
your comments. I will say I'm not really directly involved in any of the licensing or certainly enforcement. I'm kind of in this respect more focused on like the specific traffic calming project. I will say that there is a potential for additional speed calming measures to make it less enticing of a cut through. We don't make any guarantees that volume will go down or anything like that, and certainly don't mean to like obstruct anyone's ability to get use the road as they need to. But yeah, glad to hear that the driving experience on that end has improved.
Well, I do appreciate that.
I walk day and night on our street, and I can say I hardly ever see any scooters, and I've hardly ever seen luxury vehicles.
That's good to know. And yeah, I mean the volumes of vehicles really only pertain to this program as a function of how they're selected. So if we see lots of traffic, we know that the danger of speeding is amplified by that. But scooters and that kind of thing don't really affect this program at all. I will recommend that we do have a Vision Zero Action Committee and a Transportation Licensing Commission in Nashville. Both of those bodies, I believe, have public comment periods. They may be a good venue to attend, and information about those can be found on Metro's website. Any thoughts or questions pertaining to the Graylynn traffic calming? Cool. Well, it sounds like we can wrap up. Once again, thank you everyone for joining this evening. We appreciate your time and your engagement with these projects. And as I mentioned before, be on the lookout for ballots in the mail coming in the next week or so. And with that, you'll have an excellent night. Thank you.
Thank you.